happy belated Easter. Conservatives have begun fighting back across the country. Is there a red wave coming as old Bo Biden stumbles even further down, even losing party support? Meanwhile, Elon Musk takes on Twitter. Will he buy him or break him? This is Coffee or Tea. Ms. Monica, how are you doing today?
Oh, I am doing great. Lots of interesting stuff happening over the Easter weekend, which was a little chilly, but absolutely beautiful here in Michigan. Mm-hmm. If you are just tuning in, you'll see we're covering all of the latest news. Looking forward to doing some of our shorts today. So if you want to see more from us, make sure that you are smashing the like button, hitting subscribe so you can see all of the content that we're putting out. Very interesting stuff that we have to go on. We're starting to see some changes, which I'm absolutely loving.
Isn't it amazing, though? Yes, trends are changing, demographics are changing. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Well, why don't we dive right into it? Our actual first story is, of course, everything on this show is within the realm of politics. However, this one hit a little close to us, seeing as how obviously we celebrate Easter, as many in this country do. We love it, and even if you don't like it, well, most of the time you just keep to yourself. However, one individual member of the squad was having problems with that. Let's hop right to our first story from the Daily Mail. Quote, "Why do you hate Christians? Squad member Ilhan Omar is mocked for attacking video of passengers singing on a plane as part of Easter celebration on Holy Saturday." Now, before I get into this article, did you see this video prior to me sending you this?
I did not.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing. It really is. We'll get into it a little more, but I honestly, this is not surprising considering we're talking about Ilhan Omar. But at the same time, I didn't think they'd gotten to the point where they were going to try to openly mock something as amazing as celebrating Easter.
Well, I mean, the woman has some serious issues.
When you marry your brother, these kinds of things happen.
Yeah, for the sake of, getting your stuff pushed through and getting yourself in a position of power and then treading on that.
And then complaining about it, of course. Complaining about the country that helped you in this situation. Because
and
she
the
was
only
a
thing that
Somali refugee.
I do remember you talking about that. And the only thing that she really has going for her is this victim status. And you can only play the victim if somebody's attacking you. So when you get to the point where you're looking...
Oh, okay. I was like, do you know who we're talking about here?
Like, she's turning everyday people into the boogeyman.
Everything.
And that's a narcissistic, psychopathic trait.
I mean, it is, and you definitely just described the entire uniparty, and it is in the most basic and simple terms possible. However, Ilhan Omar, oh man, she's a special kind of individual, so keep it family friendly.
Well, she's part of the squad.
Exactly. Puts her above the standard uniparty member and gives her a little bit of elevated whatever. Anywho, Rep. Ilhan Omar asked what would happen if she held a prayer session on a plane. Omar, who is a Muslim, mocked for criticizing clip of Christians singing on board. Politicians slam Omar for disrespecting Christianity and hating Christians. Footage shows Christians singing gospel music 30,000 feet in the air on a plane. It's actually a very good... it's just one of those heartwarming videos. I mean, I'm just going to show you this really quick clip of this dude with his guitar. I mean, it was just... That's all it was. It was a heartwarming little clip. Like, they're just playing music, having a good time. Everyone's getting into it. And, of course, this is what has to happen. But Minnesota Rep. Ilhan Omar has been mocked for criticizing a video of passengers singing on a plane as part of an Easter celebration. Footage from the flight showed Christians singing gospel music 30,000 feet in the air. Omar, who's a Muslim, retweeted the clip saying, "I think my family and I should have a prayer session next time I am on a plane. How do you think it will end?" There's a really funny meme about this out there where somebody retweeted... I can't imagine it's in here. I didn't see it. I saw it on Patriots.win. It's not here. Somebody retweeted her and said, I don't know, the last time this happened, you guys ended up in a Pennsylvania field. Exactly.
See,
that's cruel, but at the same time, like...
No, you're feeding into her neurotic tendencies by saying stuff like that.
Well, to be fair, this is the woman who said, dismissed 9/11 as some people did something. That's an exact quote. That's not me paraphrasing. Some people did something. But we won't, it's in the past. We won't bring it up again. However, the irony of this woman saying this, I think my family and I should have a prayer session next time on a plane. How do you think we'll end? Like you said, setting up some kind of xenophobic boogeyman that's going to come after her. But of course, Vernon Jones, a Democrat turned Republican politician and staunch supporter of former President Donald Trump, slammed Omar over the tweet asking, "Why do you hate Christians, Elon?" Cicely Davis, a candidate in the GOP primary in Minnesota, said Islamic prayers on a plane were no problem and claimed the issue is you hate Christian and Jews and lots of Muslims. See, inappropriate jokes aside, literally no one would care if they started praying. If you were sitting there on a plane, let's say, me, I usually always have my headphones in, but if I'm just sitting there reading a book or something and all of a sudden I hear something and I look over and say, "Oh, hey, honey, look, they're over there praying." I probably wouldn't even say anything. I'd just go, eh.
Well, I mean, and you see lots of things on planes, and most of the time people are so zoned into their own, whatever they're doing, that they're not paying attention to anybody else around them. Yep. I believe it was on our flight to California that the guy next to me was watching porn on his phone.
Oh my goodness gracious! Not surprising. There's a video out there of a guy who was pleasuring himself on the plane.
Oh, of course,
yes, fabulous. Of course. Yes, I mean,
there's the thing.
These things will happen.
There's so many people out there who, if you're praying, they don't care.
Of course not.
If you're doing, as long as you're not affecting them, as long as you're not trying to push them into whatever you're doing, most people really don't care what you do.
Exactly.
Like,
I mean, that's
you
just
do
it.
you. And the fact that she has to play this victim, how sad is it that someone who's in a position of power, who could actually use her voice for good, to bring the two religions, I mean, there's multiple religions out there, but to bring her religion and Christianity closer together, feels the need to stoke these flames.
Oh, of course. And I mean, it's just all about victim status. That's all it is. I mean,
just like the person who made the comment about the plane in the field.
Exactly.
Like, at some point, you have to go, no, you're not a victim, they're not a victim. Either, like, stop commenting. Did she just turn into a Karen telling Christians that they're not allowed to...
Implying that at some point in her life she wasn't one. But yes, essentially that is the case. She literally just, not even on the plane, not even affected by the plane, but had to make it about her.
Of course.
Of course. And, that's the big difference, as we say multiple times, between the conservative, libertarian, you do your thing, I do my thing, and the other side. The other side would get triggered by such a thing for whatever reason, whether it's, Christianity, Catholicism bad, or my parents were that, so bad, or whatever. Yes. They would make it about themselves, and then suddenly it's a talking point for what? How oppressed Muslims are? I mean, you're literally in a position of power complaining about oppression. It's like when Don Lemon goes on CNN and complains about the terrible racism, yada yada. You're on a primetime show getting paid millions of dollars, and okay, you know what?
Now, that being said, I can see how if you're sitting there quietly on a plane and you're just trying to mind your own business and a large, like, prayer group starts up and you're like, oh my gosh, I have a headache. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want a guy playing a guitar right next to me. I can see how the individual might get annoyed.
I don't know, man. Acoustic guitars are really, really relaxing. And I bet it was a fun time. And even if it was some guy with, I for the life of me, I don't know enough about Muslims to know, like, their traditions, but if there was the equivalent of somebody with a musical instrument playing catchy songs and everybody's, like, getting into it and having fun, you'd probably, unless you were looking to be triggered, you'd probably find yourself tapping your foot.
Exactly. And when it comes down to it, how long did this last?
Exactly.
Was it a 10-hour flight where all they did was sing these Christian Happy Easter narratives? No.
Although, it didn't occur to me until literally just now. It kind of reminds me, and this is one of those where we used to be versus where we are. This isn't an item of controversy, apparently, but I think back to Airplane, of all movies, amazing movie. And there's that sequence where they've got the little, the kid who's on the gurney with the IV, and the stewardess pulls out a guitar and starts singing, and the entire flight gets in on it, and then at one point she actually turns and knocks the dude's IV out with the guitar. I mean, it's Airplane. It's a parody. That's not the point. The point is, that kind of thing, like, oh, wait, maybe it was a nun that was singing. Oh, it's been years. We're going to have to rewatch Airplane. Anyways, guitar's being played. Everyone's having a good time. They're clapping. I mean, this should not be a controversial thing. This shouldn't be something that a U.S. representative is saying.
But how dare they?
Oh, exactly.
How dare they?
How dare you? Get out of here, Greta. Ridiculous.
Oh.
But of course, they just can't resist an opportunity to crap on what is essentially, American culture.
Well, and that's the thing. I think because of the way COVID came about and all of the shutdowns, and I think a lot of people have stopped seeing the joy in being around people and the diversity behind
People revel in that fact. People are pushing for lockdowns, pushing for working from home because a large...
Well, not where we're at.
I wouldn't say large, but a very vocal minority, like you said, blames all their problems on society. So if they can shut themselves off from society, then life would be so much better.
But we need to just let them.
I agree.
The thing is that they want to force everybody else into it.
The problem is, for some reason, politicians and leaders of this country are listening to that vocal minority.
I don't think they are. I think the majority of it, and you can see it in the way that Easter celebrations came back this year. Even
It was
with
nice.
with rising cases and some of the stuff going out there, and I believe it's Philadelphia that put in Pittsburgh. No. Where is it?
What were we
Pennsylvania,
thinking
something
of?
like that.
Which
That
one?
put in lockdowns again.
Oh, it was
reinstated
Philadelphia.
the
Yeah.
Philadelphia.
It was either Pittsburgh or it was in Philadelphia. You're right, though.
And I think for those areas, let them choose their own path.
Oh, I agree.
But just like with the Florida thing, and then that's one of the reasons that I love where we're at is, I mean, we went to the park.
Yes.
We were
There's
around
a massive
bunch of
Easter egg
people.
hunt, and I didn't. I mean, not that it matters, of course. If you want to do this, you are more than welcome to do this. It's between you and your doctor. But just as a statement of fact, everybody was around having a good time. Minimal masks, minimal anything. It was like pre-coof. I mean, it was nice.
Yes.
Although I just noticed you can't see it in your camera, but look on the upper corner. There's an Easter egg. There's an Easter egg. You can't see it, but there's an Easter egg on the upper corner of that Matt Smith photo that the kids missed. See, it was just a great
I am
weekend.
telling you, there's probably eggs all over this house.
Yes.
I think that there's at least 20 that they did not find.
I would guess. I don't know if I'd go 20. They were pretty efficient this year. I would probably say somewhere in the high single digits. I don't think it breaks double digits though. But yeah, so it was a great weekend. Easter was fantastic. And the point is, a lot of people, like you said, have really kind of let go of it.
Yes.
Let go of the coof. They let go of it, and they can try to bring the boogeyman back. But it just, a lot of people are numb to it at this point.
Well,
So
and I think
let's take our
more-
kids to the park and hunt for Easter eggs together.
Well, and that's the bigger thing is that a lot of people are putting friends and family first now.
As it should be.
And that's exactly how it should be. And I mean, everybody makes their own health decisions, but we move forward as a society and say, okay, these things are optional. Nobody was forced to go to the park to find eggs and to get out and do Easter stuff. It is an optional thing.
Exactly.
And those are the freedoms that we enjoy in the United States.
And that's how it should be. I mean, anyone who didn't want to go for fear of anything, it doesn't even need to be coof, but for whatever reason they don't want to go, they don't have to go. The problem, and I'm not going to say the problem, well, I guess I could say, the problem that we have apparently overcome is those people saying, well, if I don't want to go, no one should go, and getting it shut down. Now, those people are just tuned out. The rest of at least this community, and a lot of communities across the country are saying, okay, then stay home. We're going to go have fun.
Yes.
And I love it. And, it actually ties into our next story. You actually sent me this story. It really just shows, like we just said, there is a changing public sentiment. And I think the whole concept of a red wave, I mean, obviously certain political parties are kind of crapping their britches right now because of what could be coming. But I love that. When you showed me these couple of articles, I love that it's not just political. That feeling of American pride and everything like that we used to have does seem to be making a comeback, and people are pushing back. So
well, and it's putting power back where it needs to be.
Exactly.
And that's the idea of the Conservative Party, the Republican Party, for the majority of it, is taking leadership away from the federal stance and more localizing it, because you have more in common with your neighbor than you do with someone in another state.
Oh, of course. Even in another city. I mean, that's the worst thing about Democrat policy is they rule from their cathedral in the city, and whatever they decree, it applies to people in an entirely different situation.
Yes,
But
and
they
if you
say,
look at the
I
United
do it,
States,
you have to do it.
and if you look at the United States and the way that we are formed, I mean, every state has its own culture.
Yep.
I mean, coming from North Carolina, Michigan is way different. And even when we were down there and I was doing real estate and we had people from Michigan moving down there, I remember one of the big issues was I had a client from near Detroit.
Right.
Older couple. I absolutely loved them. They had interviewed probably 3 or 4 agents down there before they decided to come on with me. And part of that was they walked into the open house that I was hosting. And and had mentioned that they were from Detroit. And oh, well, I'm a Michigander myself. Moved down a few years ago. And they were a little crass.
Crass, you said.
And people from around Detroit area have a different culture, and they're very abrasive versus the Southern mentality that we came to know and love in Raleigh.
Oh, boy.
Which is a very bless your heart, and I don't want to get up in your face.
It's a very slow, passive, lazy kind of way of life.
And I feel like parents now, with everything that's going on, have to step into that, I hate to say it, but kind of Northern conservative mentality of this. I'm going to be blunt with you because this is what I expect.
Well, of course, it's parents have to stop thinking that their kids are their best friends.
Yes.
I mean, they'll be your best friends later in life, and you can be, obviously on positive things, but it's not, hey, I'm hip too, I'm your best friend. And I guess I shouldn't poop on people who do that, but at the same time, a lot of these people overcompensate to be that, and then suddenly you're not enforcing things anymore. And
it's not even the relationship with the parent and the child so much as the parent and the teacher.
Well, that's just it. The teachers are in that same boat because the sad thing is, we've said many times, liberals don't have children, they have your children.
Yes.
So that mentality of like, I'm going to be buddy-buddy with my kid, well, now for some reason these teachers are considering their classroom their kids to the point where they're getting way too personal. But, as I was beginning to say, we are having some pushback here. Lovely moments from Yahoo News. Massachusetts parents sue schools, say officials encourage children to use new names and pronouns without consent. Whoo, baby.
Yeah.
If your blood ain't clotting, it should be boiling. Parents are taking their children's school to court, alleging teachers encourage their children to change their pronouns and names without the parents' knowledge. Oh, boy. That's even just saying that's like making me whoo.
Yeah.
Parent Stephen Foot. You think it's Foot or Footy?
Foot.
Foot?
Yeah.
All right. Stephen Foot and Marissa Silvestri claim their child was encouraged by Ludlow public school officials to adopt a new name and different gendered pronouns. Two other parents who were also involved in the suit allege the school's policies to withhold information from parents about children's gender identities violates their parental and religious rights.
Absolutely.
Duh. Yes.
Absolutely. Wow. And the fact that the school thought that was an okay move.
Oh, my God. Yes.
Just shows you how far. And it's almost sad that we've pushed educators to feel like that is their role.
Well, that's just it. We didn't. Okay.
Obviously, we did.
Damage. Well, we did and we didn't. Damage from things like No Child Left Behind definitely did not help. They're not helping, and the more the government gets involved in anything, the worse it's going to get. So that was a large overstep. However, a lot of this is coming from a generation that grew up with this mentality and are now, now that they've grown up and graduated, they're now infiltrating all over the country, including places of power over children, and then that's where, unfortunately, the indoctrination starts. And I'm so glad that Florida really exposed how bad this had gotten to the point where when they said, just leave kindergarten through third grade alone, implying from fourth grade on, that's all fine. But still, kindergarten through third grade, we just let them be kids. And, I mean, look at how much they have lost their minds over this entire thing.
Well, and here's the thing. We had other states come out with the opposite reaction to that, where we're going to make sure that we teach this. And now they're backpedaling.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, if you look further down, it says New Jersey Governor Murphy distances himself from second graders learning gender identity, calls for age-appropriate content.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Because they've gotten to the point where they said it out loud.
Yeah, said the quiet part out loud.
And then they heard it, and it registered. By them saying themselves, yes, I'm going to teach a first grader about sex.
Whew. This is sick. Okay, groomer. That's all it is.
And you say that out loud, and then you go, wait a minute.
Yeah, can you just say that again a little slowly? I don't think I was recording. And then they go, actually, now that I'm, like you said, now that I'm actually saying it out loud, I realize maybe I had made a mistake.
Yes. And I mean, how many millions of parents are there in the United States? Yeah. For a politician to say that part out loud.
Yeah, I think I saw.
And then to realize, oh crap, I've just alienated every single parent.
I mean, that's given them a lot of credit that they care. It's more or less, oh my God, my polls are gonna tank.
Well, that's
oh,
the thing.
Lord.
I've alienated every parent because
Yep.
then they lose the vote.
Yes.
And the bigger part of that is when you're looking at the breakdown of it, we're not saying that parents can't choose to have those conversations
Of course.
with their kids.
That's their right.
That's their role
Yep.
as a parent to determine with their relationship with their child when is an age appropriate conversation about sex.
Absolutely.
I don't see why anybody would disagree with that.
Because unfortunately I'm gonna say this generation of teachers, but for all we know, we've just exposed something that's been going on for a very long time. We have no idea to know how long this has actually been going on what scale. But now that it has been brought to the light, I mean, it is worrisome to think.
See, but you go into the mentality
Oh,
that
I know.
the teachers are there trying to groom these children
Some
and to
of
put them in
them
a
are.
very, very few.
I hope you are right.
A very, very few. And I think that to categorize LGBTQ, I forget what the next
Yeah, keep
plus-
going. The alphabet people.
to categorize those people and to put them in a stance of if you are in this community and you're a teacher, then you're a bad teacher isn't right.
No one's saying that.
But
If
that's
you're-
how the ultra conservative is spinning that.
Well, no,
Is
if
that
you're-
they're out to groom kids.
If you're pushing that, well, a lot of these people are out to groom kids. They may not realize it. They may think that by sharing a piece of themselves or their personal lives with kids is the way to be. But you saw the very public reactions on social media from all these teachers who were coming out against the bill in Florida and what it's implying very, very, very adamantly. And now that we've seen it across the country, even school systems developing programs that are strictly opposite of what the parental right and education bill was about, if only to flaunt this as what we want, that is the root of the problem. I'm not saying all members of certain thing, it's not an absolute of one way or the other, but I do notice there's a Venn diagram going that needs to be pointed out between people who can use this group as a shield.
Absolutely.
Because this group, unfortunately, you're right, there are very, very good people, fine people, in fact. However, this group adamantly defends anyone who falls under it and says, no, you're just saying groomer because you hate all this and that. And it's like, no, sir, you're defending groomers. You need to filter them out of your ranks.
That's the thing, is that I think that we can find common ground in that. And I think that both sides need to be a little less all-inclusive when they talk about it.
Yep.
And I can understand if I was a homosexual teacher or someone who identified as whatever, and they want a profile of you.
Sure.
And am I allowed to mention my partner? And I think where they disconnect is that you're absolutely allowed to say, I'm with a female or I'm with this person.
Well, no, yeah, you just
But I
say
think-
you're Mr. or Mrs.
And that's the thing is that more people need to understand you are absolutely allowed to have the conversation with your class that you have a husband if you are a man.
Well, if it gets,
You are not allowed to have the conversation with a second grade class about what it means that you have a husband and you are a man.
absolutely.
That is the parents' conversation.
At that
to
point,
have
you
with that
should
child.
just say if you say hey the kid goes, hey, who's that in that picture? And it's like, oh, that's my husband.
But
Your husband. And
but
then at that
so-
point, you say, just go ask your parents about it. Everybody's different, but they'll explain it.
Exactly.
That's
But
all it
so
is.
many people have painted it the opposite way for someone
Of course.
in that position. And it terrifies them that a parent's going to sue them over the fact that they said that they had a husband.
Well, now it should terrify them, which actually takes us to our next article from Fox News. Again, showing the changing public sentiment. Ohio Public University to pay $400,000 in damages after punishing professor over preferred pronoun controversy. So I'm just going to stop right there before I go a little bit further. So she sends me this article. Actually, no, you showed me this article. And I looked at it
Yes.
and I was like, that's the most ridiculous thing ever. How insane is that? And you go,
Read it first.
I said, you need to read it first. So here I go. I'm like, okay, let me just see
This
what she's
comes
talking
from me
about.
watching CNN.
Phew. This is two times in one day. We're going to have to agree with CNN. We'll get to part one here in a second. Anyways, a public university in Ohio will pay $400,000 in damages and attorney fees after punishing a professor for declining a male student's demand to be referred to as female. I was flabbergasted. I'm like, wait a minute, it's the other way?
Yep.
They're paying out to someone. Wow. And sure enough, Nick Merriweather, a philosophy professor at Shawnee State University, responded to a male. Is this big enough? Let me make it a little bigger. There we go. Responded to a male student's question during a January 2018 political philosophy class by saying, "Yes, sir." When the class ended, the student identified to the professor as a transgender and demanded to be referred to as a woman in the future, along with, quote, feminine titles and pronouns. Now, I really want to zone in on that word, demanded.
Yes.
You didn't ask. You didn't request.
Yep.
You demanded.
It was, no, you will call me she.
You will.
It is ma'am.
It is ma'am. Wow. He said, doing so, Merriweather maintained, would have violated his convictions as a Christian. Merriweather didn't agree to the student's request, and court documents state that the student became belligerent and told the professor that he would be fired.
That's the other
there
part.
it is.
Yep, there it is.
The superiority and the hubris of these individuals that think if everything doesn't go their way, then, oh boy, you will
If
rue
you
the day.
don't bend the knee to me, I'm going to take your job.
I'm going to take you down if you don't do what I want.
I will refer to this male as Karen.
Hey, that is an acceptable midpoint for me as well. So the student filed a complaint with the university, launching an investigation which eventually determined that Merriweather, quote, effectively created a hostile environment for the student because he would not use the preferred pronouns. Oh, yeah. See, this is that right there, that sentence right there, really, that's how, when you first showed me it, that's how it came off to me. Like,
yep.
A professor didn't go along with it, so the student whined, the college agreed, and then, oh no, the student got awarded a bajillion, or excuse me, it's not a Black Lives Matter award, it's $400,000.
Yes.
Merriweather did offer to call the student by any name requested, but the student did not accept the offer. Again, attempting to extend a grapevine to say,
yes.
Let's calm down. I will give you...
If you want me to refer to you as a female name.
That's okay. Karen's a good name for you.
But you are a male.
You are a male.
And it violates my rights as a Christian to refer to you, to force me to refer to you as something else.
Absolutely.
You can, by all means, refer to yourself in any context that you like. You can have other people who are validating you refer to you in... But that's where it crosses the line.
Yep.
You don't get to tell me how I have to refer to you.
Exactly.
You can express that that's what you would prefer.
Yep.
And I can also express right back that that's not what I would like.
It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? However, the plot does thicken here. Shawnee State University would then place a written warning in Merriweather's personnel file, which stated that, quote, further corrective actions would be taken if a similar incident occurred. So, again... I'm glad they got that first part out, because as I was reading this, I'm like, man, this is, even though I know how this story ends, it's still making me angry. Because, of course, the college starts off by backing the student and threatening, essentially, passively threatening the professor. So then the professor sued Shawnee State University, claiming that it violated his right to free exercise of religion under the First Amendment. Ah, bravo, sir. In March 2021, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit ruled in favor of Merriweather, reversing a district court's prior dismissal of the lawsuit and allowing the professor to continue his lawsuit against the university. He eventually wins. However, I'm going to pause right there. Again, this just shows how far this rot has gotten, this mentality of, because initially, you see right there, reversing a district court's prior dismissal of the lawsuit. Yep. That means a judge saw this and said, nope, I don't care about your right to free exercise of religion under the First Amendment. The college is correct. They're allowed to threaten you, and if you do not bend the knee, well, you're going to get fired, boy.
Yep, and that's the really scary part, is that it already went through the lower courts.
Yes, it is. I mean, that's why I said, like, this is how... conditioned I am after so many years of this in the media is that's how I thought it would have went.
Yes.
So when you showed me this article, I mean, it knocked me on my butt. I was like, holy cow. So wait a minute. The dude actually got his judgment, got his money, and even continues as a professor at the college.
And that's the thing, is that this started almost 3 years ago.
Yes.
Now. So we're talking 2018. And you and I have had conversations about how slow it is to work through the process of the United States. And that's why our country has gotten so inflamed, is because the people who are fighting it, the true conservatives, understand that it has to be fought on a legal level, it cannot be a situation where you go out and protest in the streets. You have to work within the system to change the system.
Oh, and
Because-
it's yeah. I mean, if you want to prove the system is not only that it works and is salvageable, you have
Yes.
to abide by that system, and it can be so frustrating considering the other side never does.
Yes.
But
Well,
change
because
is
the other
slow and
side's
steady.
their whole pitch
Right.
is tear down the entire system.
What is it? It's they said back in the Black Lives Matter riots, it was burn it down and from the ashes build anew.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yes.
It was a very communist manifesto type thing.
And I'm sorry, but I do not want the United States to burn.
I'm sorry, but you have no reason to say I'm sorry.
I know I went very Canadian with it. I'm going to keep apologizing for things that I believe in.
Let's go Beavers.
Oh,
If you don't get it, don't worry about it. It's
well,
okay.
and you would get it. The local towns have rivalries, and my husband, for some reason, thinks that the smaller town sounds Canadian. For
Let's go Beavers. To be fair, I'm actually not doing a Canadian accent. I'm doing a Wisconsin accent, but it does sound very, very Canadian. Anywho, this leads us to, obviously, we're seeing signs of trends changing. We're seeing signs of this because as much as you don't want to admit it, as much as these people don't want to admit it, the entire tea thing is a trend.
Yes.
It is a trend being pushed, and you could get into the tinfoil hat reason as to why it's being pushed, but it doesn't matter. It is a trend right now, and like all trends, it will pass. We went through something similar in the '80s, as I recall. I remember Dave Chappelle did the famous skit about Prince, where he said the weird thing was the dudes who looked more like chicks were getting the chicks better than the dudes who looked like dudes. Like, these things come and go.
Yeah.
They're trends, social and fashion trends that just happen.
Yes.
This one's obviously a bit more nefarious in that it's not just I'm changing my outfit because I'm, rebelling against my parents or whatever.
Yes.
I'm finding my true me. You're literally trying to change your body in ways that it will never go back. But a big cause of that and how pushed this trend is social media, which actually brings us to our next article from the New York Post. Again, a little bit of hopium, a little bit. The ultimate waste. Young people say no to TikTok and social media. Yes. I'm just going to stop and say our children said no to it because we said no to it.
Yes.
I'm just going to throw that
Yes.
out there. Like, yes, you see a lot of kids with cell phones. And the beautiful thing, I can't speak on behalf of Apple, but Android actually has something called Family Link, where you can keep that under pretty good lockdown of what apps they can do and what times they can do things and yada, yada, yada. If your kid needs a cell phone for whatever reason, I would recommend an Android, if only for Family Link. If Apple has an equivalent, use that. I just haven't heard of it. Anywho, Gen Z is social distancing from social media. Let me just see. Is this big enough? A little bigger. There we go. Zoomers are known for being glued to their phones.
Zoomers.
Zoomers, I love it. But some 20-somethings are taking a stand against all-consuming apps such as TikTok and Instagram, calling them toxic and obsessive. These young people say they're regaining control of their time by stepping away from the scroll. Oh, it's a beautiful thing.
Well, and I think we can all take a big lesson away from that because
Yes.
we've seen how social media and how having your phone at your fingertips can really be kind of an all-consuming addiction.
Oh, it is. It is an addiction, and it's something that a lot of people have spoken out against. Of course, they were completely drowned by the social media algorithm. The message was kind of lost to the system, but I like that this is becoming a thing. It says, and the anti-app wave seems to be catching on. New research reveals that Instagram is losing its grip on the next generation, according to a recent survey commissioned by investment banker Piper Sandler. No relation to Adam, I'm sure. Only 22% of respondents between the ages of 7 and 22 named Meta's popular photo-sharing platform as their favorite app, down from 31% in spring 2020.
Yes.
When you delete it, you realize you don't need it. 20-year-old Gabrielle Steinemann told the Post, the economics major dumped both Instagram and TikTok back in 2019 and said the relief she felt after unplugging was almost immediate.
Yes.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, you and I have a policy of we do our research, we do our thing, and then we just try to. Once we're done, we try to put our phones down, get outside, do things with the kids. It's about disconnecting.
Yes.
I mean, there's that joke about, like, why don't you go touch some grass? But it's a true joke. When you're in an internet forum and people are bickering eventually, especially on, like, 4chan, someone will say, dude, go touch grass.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, it's popped up a lot lately. I've seen the retort a lot, and I have to 100% agree with it. It's like, go outside, bro. Just
Yes.
get up, Go outside, open your curtains, have some sunlight, and feel good.
Well, and you're in a toxic relationship when you
Yes.
can't step away
Nope.
from the other person and they follow you everywhere. So how bad is it when you have your phone on you 24/7 and getting alerts for things that when people comment back and you feel that almost panicked urgency of I need to respond to this.
Isn't there an actual like dopamine thing that
Yes.
happens? That's what I said. I
Yes.
thought I remember reading about that a couple years back.
Yep. And there's no significance to it. I mean, like what we do online, yes, there's a lot of advertising on there. Yes, there's a lot of entertainment on there. But I think we as a society need to get back to the idea that we can enjoy things that are not virtual.
Yes, and we don't want to speak ill of the internet as it is, because the internet is one of the greatest inventions we've ever had. Unfortunately, what it has turned into and what it is used for is another question entirely. I mean, the fact that there exists a tool that fits in the palm of your hand where literally any problem that may come up in your day-to-day life, there's about a 85 to 90% chance you can find information about it. You might be able to fix it. You might be able, but at least give you an idea of what you need to do.
Yes.
It really reduces the panic when you know what you're doing.
Yes. Well, and the people who are very hands-on,
Yep.
I mean, YouTube is your best friend
Absolutely.
because you can research, 1,000 different videos on how to check your boiler and then go through and troubleshoot.
Yes. Even things as archaic and ancient as like a water boiler. And obviously they're still around, but it's not something you hear a lot
There's
about.
some new ones. Actually, they're really
I
efficient.
understand that, but it's not as mainstream as other options. But
That's true.
But the point is, somebody who, let's say, bought an old house and had a water boiler issue, they might just freak out. Like, what do I do about a water boiler? Take a deep breath, look it up. Obviously, you're not going to find out how to fix it, but you might find enough information to calm you down and then know what you need to do.
Yes, it's when we fall into that trap of we're on social media to be validated by the world.
Yep, exactly.
That we have issues. I love putting stuff out there on our social media. With these videos, it allows us to have a voice and to talk to people, which is why we love when the audience engages. So if you believe with what we're saying, go ahead and make a comment and we'll interact. But we don't put it out there to be validated.
Right. Either way, if you like what we say or if you don't like what we say, if you disagree, we love a good debate. So
Absolutely.
feel free. Yeah, absolutely. Feel free. Anytime anyone wants to debate, we are always here. However, we have reached the end of part 1 of Beauty. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to flash up that super sweet little like and subscribe button one more time. You can catch us on YouTube, primarily on Rumble. It's also on YouTube and various streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple, I forget the other one, radio something or other. She knows it. There's links in there. You get it. But anywho, this will be the end of part 1. Look for part 2 later today, where we go into a little bit more detail about Mr. Bo Jiden and the shenanigans that he is up to. So we will talk to you then.